Okay, welcome back, everyone. If you've been listening in, that was Cameron, who is going to be looking after us today and for the rest of the series. Cameron is very experienced with it. In fact, she's been like working with me on this program probably more than anyone else over the years. So we're in good hands with Cameron. Also, a quick shout out to Tim, who's been helping on the Facebook page, trying to organize your questions and trying to encourage me to be a bit more timely in my answers. I know I haven't got to everyone's question in the Facebook group. Hopefully, I've touched on most of the questions. But you guys are the best, I think, of all the groups we've had so far. You are perhaps the most immersed, the most curious. You got the most questions, and it's all good. It's all good. All the questions are good. If I haven't got to your individual question, I apologize. Hopefully, others have jumped in and helped. But like I said, I think I've got most of them. Right. That said, let us dive in. I was just saying to Cameron, like the first two sessions have been all about choosing your topic, choosing your platform, getting your domain, getting your kind of website, saying, okay, here it is. Here's what I'm going to do and where and how I'm going to build it. And today in session 3, we're going to talk about creating the content, the substance of the website, the pages, the posts, the photos, the videos, whatever it's going to be. And this is like the heart and soul of it. If you win here, you will win. Um, so up until now, it's been the practical stuff about how to get your website set up and stuff. The creation of the site itself, of the content itself, is hugely important. Right. So establish a site architecture. And I got to try start moving stuff around. I always gets in my way. This bar. All right. Let's stuff it up the top. Okay. I use something called Xmind, but you can use any kind of mind mapping tool. You can do this. You can do this on a sheet of paper if you want. But basically what I do right at the very beginning, and I've done this in Excel before as well, is that I create a bit of a family tree like this. In fact, on my latest website, I started off doing it in Excel. And where my coffee makers would be like, 3 or 4 columns in. And then under there, I have the next set of categories. So pretty much every website you go to, if you look behind the scenes, it has this kind of structure. You got the home page, which is where it says coffee makers. Let's say this is a website, say I'd be building just about coffee makers. And then I would have, typically you see it as the navigation tabs, the horizontal navigation tabs. And remember from last time, please make your navigation horizontal under the header and not down the left-hand side like we used to in the olden days. So I've got coffee makers as my homepage. And then I have my second level or my second, my category pages. So I got single serve brews. I'm going to do drip brews. I'm going to do brews $100 and etc. I might have 4 or 5 or 6 different major categories of, I'll probably have pour over coffee makers. That'd be another good section. More hands-on coffee makers, all kinds of good stuff. So those are my major categories, and you need to work that out for your own site as well. And I've been doing it for my site. My new site topic, and then the major categories, which are basically named on the navigation for the site. And then under there, if I go to the page here on single serve coffee makers, I could have a whole page about single serve coffee makers, the pluses and minuses, the features, what you're going to love, what you're going to hate, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, I can say, hey, if you want to see reviews of individual machines, we got a page on Keurig, single serve brewers, we got a page on Tassimo, we got a page on Espresso, etc., etc. You can also, in fact, if you're looking at this as navigation, like if I moused over on single serve tab, in fact, just on the navigation, I could have a drop down so people could go directly to Keurig, Tassimo, and Nespresso. I'm going to do the same for drip brews. I'm going to do the same for under 100. So in terms of that first level, those major categories like single serve drip brewers. I would typically, I think I've got with my new website maybe 6 major categories. On the navigation, there's always a couple of other things. I've got a privacy page, a contact page, an about page. But in terms of the content and, the subject matter, I think I've broken it down into 5 or 6 categories. Pretty much the same with Coffee Detective. And then when you mouse over on my navigation links, you're going to see some drop downs, and these are the kind of pages that belong within those categories. So within Drip Brewers, we're going to talk about Brawn Drip Brewers and Cuisinart and Mr. Coffee. And in the category of under 100, we're going to look at Drip Brewers because there are some for under 100. We're going to look at simple hands-on stuff like French press and filter cone, etc., etc. So down the bottom there, xmind.net download. Xmind used to be all free. Now it's paid, but they still have this link lurking around in the background. And maybe there's one that's where it says /MAC for Mac. I don't know. But if that link is still working, then you can get a simple version of xmind.net, this mind mapping tool for free. And I use mind mapping tools for everything and anything. I use it. I've been using it now with my new website. I started off playing around in Excel, then reminded myself I could do it much better with the mind mapping tool. I do it if I'm writing a book. I do it if I'm building a presentation. It's just the mind mapping tools are just super helpful for organizing information. Then what we're going to do is we are going to create a list of the best keywords and phrases that we might have. So we're going to go to, this is in fact taken from the Solo Build It keyword research tool. If you're using something else, maybe you're using Uber Suggest, one way or another, you're going to build up a list of good keywords and phrases. So in this case, what I've done in that far right hand column is the most profitable. The keywords and phrases with the most potential are at the top of the list and working my way down. So what have we got? We've got bun coffee makers, and then we've got bun coffee maker instructions. So that's kind of interesting. Bun seems to be quite the popular one in terms of searches for coffee makers. And so we go down the list, and you can do the same thing. And then what you do is you do this. You kind of put them side by side. So if I'm looking for drip brewers, my category in drip brewers, and I see I've got Brawn and Cuisinart and Mr. Coffee, I might pause and think, well, hang on, I should probably have one of those pages should be on bun coffee makers, because that seems to be getting more attention as a keyword, key phrase. So do you see what I'm doing here? Like on the left, I'm putting together a structure of how I think, here's how I think we should best organize this information on coffee makers. I'm going to break the big topic into these major 5 or 6 categories, and then there are going to be all these individual pages within those categories. But now I want to cross-reference with all that work that I did on keyword research and find phrases that I can use, that I can optimize pages for. And in this case, maybe I'm going to dump Mr. Coffee, or I'm going to dump Brawn under drip brewers, and I'm going to bring in some bun drip brewers because that seems to get more attention from searches. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cross-reference my kind of architecture on the left with demand, and I won't look at just that one page. I'm going to play around with different search terms. I'll search for single serve coffee makers, drip brewers, pour over coffee makers. I'm always looking for phrases that hit the sweet spot, enough demand, not too much supply. So I'm looking for low search difficulty in Uber Suggest, like under 50, and I'm looking for highest figure as possible in terms of profitability on the Solo Build It tool that you see here. And what I might do is sometimes I will create a new page within the drip brewer category. I'm going to add a page now on bun coffee makers because I hadn't realized how popular they were in search. So that's given me a clue as to a whole different page I should create within that category. Otherwise, like say in single serve, you can't possibly have a page on single serve coffee makers without mentioning Keurig because they're the dominant player in that space. So I'll probably actually then go back into my keyword research tool, and I'll specifically do a search for Keurig brewers. And now I'm looking for a phrase, the phrases that people type in most frequently. And again, I want lots of demand, not too much supply, but specific to Keurig brewers. And what that does is one is confirming that, yes, lots of people are interested in it, which I know already. but also it's giving me clues as to how I can best optimize the page of content I create. So let me explain what I mean by that. Here is a page. This is actually a page that I took off my hard drive. This is how I start to create a content page for Coffee Detective. At the top, I say, what's the URL going to be? It's going to be coffeedetective.com/something. Then I'm going to create a title, and I'll go into more explanation here about titles and keywords and descriptions. But I'm putting this in title, keywords, descriptions. And then you see the bold line, making stovetop espresso with a simple, inexpensive Bialetti. That is the headline. So above there is not showing on the page. I've got the headline there. Underneath there, I'll almost always have some kind of photo or perhaps a video, and then I've got my body text. I have, by looking at my keyword research, discovered that stovetop espresso is a reasonably strong key phrase. So I am building this page specifically to appeal to Google. All right, I'm calling it stovetop espresso. And so my URL is going to be stovetop espresso Bialetti. I'm just adding Bialetti because that's the brand name of the espresso machine I'll be talking about. In my title, I say making stovetop espresso with the Bialetti espresso maker. My keywords, so under there, it says keywords, stovetop espresso. That is the phrase. That means with that green background, you see I'm optimizing for a specific phrase by using it early on in my title sentence, early on in my description sentence, early on in my headline. All right, so this is classic on-page optimization. You choose your keyword or phrase, and then you make sure you include it in your title, your description, and your headline, and 2 or 3 times within the body of the text. What you see in yellow are related phrases and terms. It used to be in the olden days, Google would either, would look at, keyword is stovetop espresso, and that's it. It would just look for that exact phrase. Google is much smarter now, so when it reads espresso machine, it knows that is definitely related to stovetop espresso. If I talk about espresso at home, a little further down in the end of that first sentence, that first paragraph of body text, espresso at home, Google says, okay, this is all related. So these are called related phrases and stuff. So what you want to do is you want to, in your title, your keyword, and your description, you want to include your key phrase, your keyword. You want to definitely include it in the headline. And like I say, if you see how I include it early on in the title sentence, early on in the description sentence, and early on, you want to do that. It's good for the search engines. It's also good for your users, because what you're doing is you're flagging to your user, hey, this is what this page is about. So the user can immediately say, oh, look, this is about stovetop espresso, exactly what I wanted, or not. But it's good. It's a good habit to get into. Right. So a bit more about titles, and actually, while we're looking here at keywords, you see I say keywords, but I actually have just one phrase, stovetop espresso. Again, if we go back into the olden days of the web, people used to put under keyword stovetop espresso, comma, espresso machine, comma, Bialetti espresso, comma. They'd put in like 20 different keywords. And right at the very, very beginning, Google was kind of grateful for that, because it really did kind of help them, because their computers weren't very smart. But over time, that list has shrunk. And now I never optimize a page for more than a single phrase, always one phrase. Highly, highly recommend it. You might read different elsewhere, and if you want to follow their advice, fine. But for me, for my sites, whether it's my business sites or whether it's my money-making websites, keywords, one phrase, no comma, something else, something else, something else, just one phrase. I optimize for a single phrase, and I'll always do better. I'll always do a better job that way than the person who's trying to optimize a page for 3 or 4 different phrases. So what is this page title description keyword thing? Like I said, these are pretty much kind of off-page things, except the title. So the title is not the same as the headline. if you open up your browser and you go to a page on Coffee Detective or anywhere else, and you look up on the tab of that page in your browser, so you might have 3 or 4 different tabs open in your browser, go up to the tab, put your mouse over it, and as you mouse over, a copy line will come up. And that copy line might be, this is an example of a title tag that shows 69 characters in length. So that is the title. It appears on the tab of the open browser window. It's not the same as the headline you write. It can be. Some people are lazy. Sometimes I'm lazy, and I write the headline and then I use the title tag. I use the same copy line for the title tag, but that's kind of lazy. There are different opportunities here. So you write the title. Very few people actually do the mouse over thing on the tab and in their browser, so people don't really see that. But Google sees it. So, and then when you look at description, so actually going back to the page title, 70, fewer than 60 characters, 70 characters. So where it says this is an example, blah, blah, blah. If you write longer than that, Google will just chop it off. You'll see a dot, dot, dot. It'll only show up to 70 characters. Now, they changed the rules slightly, a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but that is pretty much it, 70 characters. So always do a character count. If you use Solo Build It, it automatically tells you how many characters. And in fact, when you're building a Solo Build It page, before you can start building the page in terms of headlines and text and stuff, you have to build basically this information. You have to put this information in. You're going to be asked for the URL, like / espresso, stovetop -espresso. And you're going to have to write in the title and the description. So this stuff is important because what you see underneath where it says this is an example, that is a search result within Google. So when you see a search result within Google, the first 3 or 4 are going to be ads and they have a little ad marker on the left. Then you're going to see the organic search results. And that's where we want to be, right? We want to be within the organic search results. And when Google creates an organic listing like that, they don't grab your headline from your web page or anything like that. They grab your title tag. And then that little bit of text underneath, here's an example of what a snippet looks like in Google search engine results pages, SERPs. That text there is the description that you're going to write, which is going to be fewer than 160 characters. Otherwise, again, Google will chop it off and it'll just be ... All right. So when you get an organic search result, what you're seeing is the title that you've written, the title tag, and you're seeing the description that you've written. Then under there, you can see you get the URL. It's pretty much the same, and you can change the settings, but it's pretty much the same if you are sharing a URL on Facebook or Twitter. They don't go and grab your headline. They go and grab your title, and they go and grab your description. This is worth thinking about because here's how in real life what happens as we run around creating new pages is we get very, very excited about our headlines and our body text and our images and stuff like that. And then we think, dang it, I've got to do a title tag and a description and I've got to make sure I'm clear about my keyword. And sometimes it's like almost an afterthought. Like I say, in Solo Build It, they've built it in so that you have to do this before you can build the rest of the page. But in WordPress, you can build an entire page and publish it without bothering about any of this at all. But usually we will create a plugin. And the most popular plugin, and the one I use, is called Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T. And you install that plugin in your WordPress website. And after you've created your page, you go down and you write in your page title and description, and you throw in your keyword there. And Yoast is not a keyword research tool. It's a tool to be used when you are creating new pages or posts, and it will tell you sometimes whether you're doing a good job or a bad job with it. This is super important. People. Like I say, people will spend half a day agonizing over the perfect headline and they'll spend 30 seconds writing the title tag. The other weird thing I was talking about on search engine results pages, you will see the ads, the paid listings, and then you will see listings like this, which are the organic search results. When people write those ads, they spend a huge amount of time choosing those 70 characters for the ad. It's the same constraints and 160 characters for the description. They're writing an ad. They spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of time. And somehow the rest of us, when we're creating it for the organic search results, which are far more valuable to us because they're free, we don't spend that same amount of time. So I've learned over the years to actually really, really think carefully about how I write that title and how I write that description, because that's what's going to appear in the search results. It's what's going to appear in Twitter or in Facebook if I just share a URL like that. Now that said, bit of a rabbit hole. If you get a tool like Yoast, you will find that actually you can write a different title and a different description for social media purposes. But that's you'll find that out if you're using Yoast. I'm not sure I can do that in Seller Build It, which is a pity because I sometimes do that in WordPress. So that is just, don't be like everyone else. We win here by not being like everyone else. And one of the reasons that we win here is that we pay a lot of attention to this stuff, writing the title, the description, and of course choosing the keyword that we're going to optimize the page for. Also, you want to optimize your images. So, and you can do this, whatever the platform you're using, you'll find an opportunity to do this. So here's a picture of a Bona Vita coffee maker, and every image on a website has an individual URL, and it's just grabbing basically from an image file, from a media file. So this is image source, Coffee Detective /images /Bona Vita coffee maker JPEG. So that's the image that's called. But it has little attached to that is width equals 500. That's the pixel width of that image. And then it says alt equals the Bona Vita BV1800 coffee maker with thermal carafe. Alt stands for alternative. And the original purpose of alternative was way back in the 90s. People were sitting down saying, hey, how do we make the internet accessible to people? As many people as possible, including people who cannot see the screen. How can people who cannot see a screen interact with the internet? And one of the answers was that for whenever we put an image up, we would include an alternative to the image in the form of text. So we would describe what we see in the image. So in this case, if I couldn't see what that picture was, I could, because I'd have a piece of software that was reading out the page to me. And that piece of software would know that wherever it said alt equals, it would say basically image of the Bona Vita. All right, so it would say what the image is. It turns out that there are SEO, the search engine benefits here as well. So if I have a keyword, a key phrase, I want to include it here. So probably on this page, if I'm running a review of this brewer, then the model name, Bona Vita BV1800. Is good. That's probably my key phrase right there. And again, it's early on in my alternative, in my alt description of that image. But again, sometimes there's always people who are trying to mess around with SEO. So they'll instead of doing an alternative description for people who can't see, they will leverage this little spot here to stuff in 10 different keywords. Thinking they're getting some kind of SEO advantage. Clearly, this is of no use to the person who can't see, and the program is just reading them a list of keywords. So it's completely ignoring the original purpose of the alt tag. And at the same time, so a word of warning, as you get into this, when you publish your site, even after you've purchased your domain, and maybe this is already said that it happened to you, is you start getting emails from companies saying, oh my goodness, we can help you do this. We can help you get on page 1 of the search engines. I got one this morning. It was like hilarious. And it was about what a terrible job I was doing with Coffee Detective and how poorly it was performing in the search engines and how they're guaranteed to get me on page 1. And here's all the list. And it was all nonsense. And you got to be really careful. Over time, you will get tons of emails from people because they will find out, whenever you register a domain name, unless you pay extra for privacy, that is public knowledge. People scrape those lists and they automate emails to you saying that they're going to get they're going to get your site on page one. All you got to do is send them a check, send them 19.99 to get started. Just don't. It's all nonsense. Don't. And they'll actually probably do you damage. You're better off doing this is like white hat, black hat. All right. So we are white hat. We are white hat search engine optimizers. We do it according to Google's rules. We don't try and fool Google. We don't try and mess with Google. And there are lots of people out there who are the other persuasion, the black hat, and they are trying to fool Google. They're trying to get, fool the algorithm and give themselves an advantage and get onto page one. And that has become the black hat approach has become a struggle of diminishing returns as Google gets smarter and smarter and is using AI more and more. It's becoming almost impossible to fool Google with all your clever little tricks and devices. One of the examples I use is, and I think I came across this in a bit. I think it's basically just something I stole from a movie or a novel. Imagine that you're a teenager who is arrested for whatever you've done, you're naughty, and you think you're very, very clever, you're a little teenage master criminal, and you're taken to the police station and you go to the interview room, and this grizzled detective starts interviewing you. And being the clever little teenager you are, you think, oh, I know, I can deal with this old man, and you're so clever, and you're basically, the teenager is misunderstanding something here, and that is that this grizzled old detective has been through this conversation 1,000 times, maybe 5,000 times over his career. He has heard every clever excuse. He's just heard it all before. It doesn't matter how clever the teenager is. Maybe it's somebody in their 20s or whatever. If it's your first crime and you think you're going to fool this guy at the other side of the table, you're not, because just simply the experience that they have. They've heard it all before. It's not going to work. You can't fool them. Unless it's an incredibly bad detective. It's the same with SEO. You can either follow the rules and not break the law of Google, or if you do break the rules, don't for a minute think that Google's never come across your clever little device before, your clever little approach. Oh, I know, I'm going to do this. This will fool Google. No, it won't. They've seen it 1,000 times in the last 10 minutes. The AI is scouring. They are indexing and re-indexing billions of pages a day. They see and track everything. So it used to be that kind of black hat, the people setting out to fool the search engines had something of an advantage. They really could stay a few steps ahead of Google. Those days are past. So don't, and if you get people selling you services or giving you advice of like, here's a cunning trick that will, don't. Well, I've never done it, never have done it. I've done perfectly well without it. And the thing is I've survived. My sites have survived without it, because if Google finds you trying to fool it, trying to go all black hat on it, it will punish you and it will downgrade you in the results. If you've been a really naughty boy or naughty girl, it will de-index you entirely. You will not appear anywhere in the Google search index on the pages, on the SERPs. So yeah, Google has teeth. So just why risk it? Why risk it? There's perfectly good, legitimate ways. So this is what we've talked about these last few slides. This is important. So now, after the scary stuff, we get into the interesting stuff. Make your content informative and engaging. This is the competitive edge we have over those larger competitors. The content, what we create, what we post, what we publish on our sites. We cannot afford to, if you create a whole bunch of pages that are okay or good enough, or hey, I know there's 1,000 other pages kind of like this on the web, but this will do, and I wanted to get it done before the end of the week. No, it's not going to work. We got to create really, really interesting pages that are more interesting or better in some way than the other pages out there on the same topic. That's how we win. And we can do it because remember, we've chosen that a kind of more narrow niche. So we're not trying to write about everything about gardening the way Better Homes and Gardens trying to do. We're talking just about rooftop gardening or urban chicken farming, raising urban chickens or whatever. We have this slice. And because we focus on that slice, that allows us to create better content than some of those big guys. But also that it's not just about informative, it's also about engaging. You really want to write in a way that is interesting and is attractive to readers. So you're not writing like a big media company. It's taken me decades. Like I was trained as a copywriter, so I was writing as a copywriter, and I was writing in the voice of my corporate clients. And it took me decades to figure out that people don't want to read that guff. They really don't. There's nothing as boring as reading a message from one sponsor. What people want to read is everyday engaging language, like a conversation they might have with a friend in a coffee shop. So be engaging, right in the world, particularly if you're talking about rooftop gardening or raising chickens or making coffee. These are the kind of conversations that you would have with a friend over coffee. So talk that way, be that person, be that expert talking to friends. Say, write well, deliver value, and like be yourself. So pages, when you're writing page, and when I say pages, it's going to be the same with posts. So in terms of length, Google has let us know over the years what it looks for and hopes for and what it rewards in terms of content and what it doesn't like in terms of content. And really short pages, Google doesn't like. It's not impressed. So if it's less than 400 words, if you use that Yoast plugin with WordPress, it'll kind of warn you if your blog post is under 300 words. It'll say this is too short. I find 300 words very, very short. I'd never write. Well, that's not quite true. But generally, I aim for at least 500 words. One, so that the page has substance for the reader, but also so that I don't displease Google. There are times where I will write a shorter page and where I wish Google would not look down its nose at me. So, for example, if somebody asks me a question in Coffee Detective, what's the best water temperature for brewing coffee? I can answer that question. I can answer that question in a 2-word sentence. All right. So the question is asked, the answer is delivered, the value is delivered, the absolute total value is delivered in a total of 10 words, question and answer. But I can't build a 10-word page because Google would be thoroughly unimpressed, which is kind of a pity, because actually that's what my reader wanted was just, hey, what's the best temperature? And I say, here it is. But I don't. I have to tell a story around it. I have to build it out. So I'm getting it to at least 400 words, and maybe I'll throw in a couple of images to kind of add some more value to that page. So I'm not always happy with Google. I'm not always happy with Google. I don't always agree with Google and what they do and what they reward and what they penalize. But what is. So I work within those constraints. Pages with over, look at that. How could I have that typo? I went through this morning. Over pages with over. Forget the first over. Pages with over 800 or even 1,000 words, please Google, and generally do well on social media. So on my Coffee Detective, probably every page is kind of 500 words plus. My new website I'm doing, I'm more in the 800 to 1,200 word per page. I maybe have one. The homepage is different, but in terms of content page, I think maybe there's one page so far that's under 800 words, but mostly they're between 800 and 1,200. Google really likes that. It makes it look like there's real substance and value there. And strangely, this is kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that with social media, people would be really into short snippets, like very short little bits of information and very short pages to share. That short copy would do well for social media, but it's not actually the case. If you use a tool like BuzzSumo, which I've talked about before and which I use a lot for social media optimization purposes, a lot of the content that they demonstrate is the most shared is very long. Sometimes it's 1,000 words, sometimes it's 2,000 words. So whether it's for search engines or social media, longer pages are worth it. Now we get into this weird human thing. So as humans, we're our own worst enemies. I was saying earlier about how we all tend to rush writing the title tag in the description when we shouldn't. We should give it a ton of attention because that's super important bits of text. And it's the same thing when we write pages. Like, I'd love to be. Sometimes I don't know. I've set to myself, I'm going to write this page by the end of the day or the end of the week or whatever. And I got lots of other things to do. And it's like, hey, I can do that. I can 400 pages, 400 words. That's fine. That'll do. That'll do. So I can get it up and published and done, and I can check off my to-do list. That decision will haunt me now for the next 10 years. I mean, literally. If I had been a big boy and I said, hang on, you don't have to publish this today. This is your money-making website. You don't have a client. You are the client. You can publish it whenever you want. If I were a big boy, I'd say, don't publish it today. Publish it at the end of next week and use that extra time to write a far, far better page that is at least 1,000 words in length. That is the much smarter decision. When I look back, I have some pages on Coffee Detective which have earned me, I probably have individual pages that have earned me tens of thousands of dollars over a 10, 12-year period. And they are always pages that are the really good pages, the pages where I put in the most work, the pages that are they're not all over 1,000 words, but a lot of them are. If they're not, they have a lot of value in terms of images or videos or for some other reason. The pages that make that site successful are the really, really good pages where I've put in the extra time. You can, if you create one really good page, and then if you do an audit 10 years later, that one really good page is probably giving you more return in terms of readers and income than 10 other okay pages. It's the really good pages that really win. So again, there is a temptation, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the only lazy one, but I don't think so. There is a temptation to stop at the point where you can get away with, 500, that's enough, that'll do. It looks good, that's fine. It may be kind of fine, but you'll do much better by going beyond fine and making it really, really good. But yeah, you're going to mix it up because I'm still going to get those questions from customers saying, what's the best temperature for brewing coffee? And I'm going to turn that into 1,000 words. That's not, that's ridiculous. So I'm going to have some short pages, and some will be less than 400 words for sure. If I wrote one last night, which was an answer to a question on Coffee Detective. And basically, somebody asked me this question about a particular brewer, and I have no experience with that brewer. I had no idea. And she wrote a fairly brief question, and my answer was, hey, dear Brenda, or whatever her name was, I'm sorry, but I have no experience with that at all, but I'm going to put this up on the site just in case there are others out there, other people reading this have had experience with this brewer, and they can help you. So it's probably about a 7,500 word page. So either it'll just sit there and nothing will happen, or people will jump into the comment stream and say, oh yes, I've got that brewer. I find that if you do X, Y, Z, then someone else will jump in. And then over time with that comment stream, because the comments count, right? That over time, that page could become 400 words, then 500 words, then 800 words, if people keep commenting on it. Because all that text within the comments, it's all relevant to the content. Otherwise, because I moderate the comments, if it's not relevant to the conversation, then I don't publish it. So it's all relevant. Google sees it, sees the whole page is about this one brewer. And through the kindness of my readers sharing their comments generously, in time, I'll build a longer page. So that's one of the reasons I really like that. The idea of inviting user input and user generated content, because it means that, I got some pages that are like 10,000 words, and like 9,500 of them are in comments. That's a bit of secret sauce for you. So 7 tips to help you create great content. So like I say, this could be static pages on a website. It could be blog posts on a website. So far, my new website doesn't have a blog. It's all static pages. I might add a blog later on. We'll see. Right, to help you create great content. Provide the answer to a question. So people, if you think about it, almost most searches that you enter into Google, whether it's on your phone, maybe you're speaking it into your phone, maybe or you're typing it into your browser, into the search box. And if I say something like organic lawn pesticide, I just put in three. We tend to, when we're searching, we tend to just throw it in as a shorthand, or organic lawn pesticide. What I'm actually typing in is a question. It could be, the question might actually be, where can I find it? Or is there such a thing as? Or how can I make it? Or if you think about it, whatever you type into, it's almost always a question when you pull out if you expand it out to the full length of what you're actually saying. So, where can I find an inexpensive place to stay in Budapest? How many calories a day does my dog need? Where can I find Singer sewing machine parts? These are all legitimate. These are all things that appear. These are all questions that are thrown into search engines. How can I make a meal for four for under $500? So because people are, when they're searching on the internet, they whether they notice it or not, they're actually asking questions. When you go to a website and your headline actually has a question in it, you are almost kind of mirroring the user's intent. They kind of recognize, okay, this is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. So if it's about travel to Budapest and the question is an inexpensive place to stay, it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting for me. I'm planning a trip for that. Or suddenly you got a dog and you're not sure whether you're overfeeding it or underfeeding it. Questions, people love answers to questions. People love how to adjust the gears on a mountain bike, how to get rid of dandelions on your lawn, how to save money on first class air tickets, how to write ebook in 48 hours, and again, you will find a disproportionate amount of content that does well starts with the words how to. And again, if you think about it, it's almost like a question again. Can you tell me how to adjust the gears? Can you tell me how to get rid of dandelions? Can you tell me how to save money? So again, they're almost again questions in disguise, but it's presented in a different way with how to. And if you did a search in coffee detective, you'd find I have a ton of how-to pages. And on my new topic, I will also have new pages. Oh, and also I'm going to have a whole page on, it's next on my list for my new website, is basically a Q&A page of like, here's a whole bunch of, frequently asked questions on this topic. And then when I'm ready under there, I'll open up saying, hey, if you got a question on this topic, send it to me here. And that's where I'll start off again with the user-generated content for the new site. User-generated content, tattoo it on, no, don't tattoo it, but write it down and stick it on the wall in front of you. People love lists. And again, you may have noticed this, and this is the how-to, very, very popular in social media. Lists, very, very popular in social media, but this is really popular kind of type of content. Top 10 websites for travel bargains, 5 proven ways to get off paying speeding tickets, 7 ways to make a good impression at a job interview. And again, if you think about it, it's questions. It's also how to, how to get off paying for speeding tickets, how to make a good impression at a job interview. So this is like in a sense, a lot of this content is the same kind of thing, but sometimes it's a question, sometimes it's how to, sometimes it's numbers. There's something about numbers, and you can see it's either at the beginning, 5 proven ways, 7 ways, or it's like a top 10 thing. There's something about numbers that just compels attention. People are drawn to lists with numbers. 10 is a really good number. Then you see those odd ones, 5 and 7. Those will almost always do better than 4 and 6, odd numbers. So not counting 10, not counting 100, or maybe 20 is strong, 50 is strong. But outside of those, odd numbers like 5, 7, 11, 21 generally do better. I'm not sure why, but that's the way it goes. So as you are thinking about how to write your pages, so you're mapping out your pages, you've got your mind map, you're cross-referencing with your keyword research work with the different phrases and stuff, and you're going to say, oh, okay, here's a here's a topic for a page. It fits under this category on my new site. I've got a strong key phrase for it. And then there's a temptation to then just write that page. And you just write a headline that includes the key phrase early on in the headline, and then you think you're good to go. But there is you're not quite there yet. There's this second layer of how do I make this content very attractive and compelling to a reader? Because whatever you're writing about, dandelions or on the lawn or good impression for a job interview, there are 100,000 pieces of content out there on how to make a good impression at a job interview. So you can't just write a page like that. Like, you've got to spruce it up a bit. You got to do 7 ways, because now you've refreshed the topic and you've made it attractive. Incidentally, I quite often use this device of 10, 5, 7 because it signals something else to the reader. If I say 7 ways to make a good impression, as opposed to how to make a good impression. If I say how to make a good impression, it's strong. I've got how to. But now in my mind, I'm anticipating clicking through to this piece of content, and it's going to be this long essay, this long page, all about making good impression. And that kind of feels like hard work. If you flag to me up front 7 ways, that tells me something in advance about the nature of your content. It tells me that your content is probably got a little short introduction. And then there's going to be these 7 blocks, and it's going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's going to be this subhead. And now all of a sudden I'm on easy street, because I know that it's going to be easy for me to just scroll through and to consume this content. It's not a big dense page, 1,000 words of text. It's broken up into 7 chunks, and maybe they got nice pictures too. And I say that like when I say nice pictures too. Sometimes when I'm building a page, I'm almost thinking in terms of a kid's picture book. Simple text, images, like just make it attractive. So it's not just about the quality of the content. It's about making the content compelling, attractive, interesting, and definitely not like hard work. Nobody wants to feel that back at school. So that's something else in terms of the way that I format my pages. Is I always write in very short sentences. I write in short paragraphs. I break the page up into, even if it's not 5, 7, or 10, even if it's just a regular how-to, I will find a way to break it up into sections so I have subheads. And so it even before people start reading, it looks easy to read. And when they do start reading, it is easy to read, because you can have the best content in the world, but if it is too dense, if the language is too complicated, if it's university level language or it's business school language, that's hard work reading that stuff. It really is hard work. There is a much higher cognitive load on reading that stuff than there is reading everyday language, which is what I try to do. So yeah, these things like the questions, the how-to, the lists. This is how you take the relevant content that's optimized for the search engine, relevant to your site, relevant to what your users are looking for. And this is the stage where we turn that content into something that is compelling and attractive and engaging. Tell a story. Again, some content can be really, really boring, but I got lost in the way of Kathmandu. Well, that sounds interesting. It's like a travel story. It's like I don't know. I'm going to read that. I found this antique coffee percolator at a local flea market. So if you have a site about coffee and that is something you're going to write about and you tell a story, then I hope when you were there that you took lots of photographs as you were wandering through the flea market and maybe a short video clip or whatever. So back in the days when I was creating a lot more content for the coffee site much more frequently, hardly a day went by when I wasn't taking some kind of coffee-related photograph. I'm constantly thinking in terms of content. But there's a story. So instead of it just being, this is an antique coffee percolator, tell me the story behind it. How did you stumble upon it? Where was it? What were you doing? Was it a rainy day? Had you just broken up with your boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, give it some color. Make it a story. Or even like a very simple story, like how I persuaded my credit card company to reduce the interest rate on my car by 3%. So that's how to, okay. But it's also a bit of a story. So it's not just, how how to get your credit card companies. It's how I persuaded. It's the story of how I did it. It makes it more human, right? There's more of a human touch there. So there's lots of ways to, and that when you're more human, you're more engaging. And of course, it doesn't have to be all text. I've mentioned this. So you can add photos. I'm a huge, like, I don't know how many photographs there are on the Coffee Detective website. There must be over 1,000 photographs, and probably over 900 of those I've taken myself. These are not professional photographs. These are photographs I've taken. But they communicate a sense of my involvement and interest in what I'm writing about. And I'm trying to do the same with my new website. I'm not quite there yet. I am buying a bunch of stock photos. But I'm also been adding and building up the number of photographs of my own. So add photos, charts, diagrams, if applicable, video. Again, I got tons of video on the Coffee Detective website, usually for reviews of equipment. Could be slideshow presentations. They used to be more popular than they are now. I don't think I have any of those on Coffee Detective. I've had one or two of those on business sites before. Same with infographics for a period. Like, if you didn't have infographics, you just weren't part of the in crowd in internet marketing. And again, not quite so compelling. But an infographic is called for when it is the best way to communicate something, when it's the best way to present the information. Infographics can be really, really useful, but not just simply for decoration, but for when that is the best way to go. Optimize for social media, so make your content shareable. So on Coffee Detective, in the right-hand column, I think it's under the first block of ads, you will see links to the various Coffee Detective social media channels, platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Pinterest and Instagram, etc. So you can go to my social media sites for Coffee Detective. At the bottom of the content on the pages, I'll often invite you to share that page on Facebook or Twitter. So there are two different things, like here's my account, and then here are the icons, here are the links to click to share this content with your audience, dear reader. So you want to do both things. You want to give people links to your social media content, and then also have these links that will, and again, with Solo Build It, they'll tell you how to do that. With WordPress, there's plugins, there's social media, a whole bunch of different social media plugins that will help you do that. But social media is, I know there's one or two people have mentioned in the Facebook group, and also I hear it in every Facebook group on writing for the web, is there some people who say, you know what, I can't stand social media. I'm not into social media. I don't do social media. I don't have a smartphone. I don't want anything to do with social media, which is fine, but I'll tell you straight up, you will be putting yourself at a disadvantage. Not because I have a particular interest in social media myself, but it's where people are at. It's what, if we want an audience, we have to address that audience in the ways that work for them. And more people now engage through the internet via social media, particularly Facebook. Like my wife, when I look at her use of the internet, she uses it in quite a variety of ways. But when it's not relating to something specific, if she's just hanging out, she will usually spend that time on Facebook. So she's got her Facebook page, and she's sharing stuff, and she's got her friends there. She's part of a whole bunch of groups. She's a painter, so she's in a painting Facebook group, 2 or 3 of them. We've been raising a dog, a puppy, so she's a member of a whole bunch of puppy-related Facebook groups. A couple of them very specific to that one breed. So this is my wife. We're not teenagers. We're just, so it doesn't matter the age group. My daughter will probably be more likely to be on TikTok, which is the bottom left icon there in the right group on the right-hand side, than on Facebook. But across all different age groups, demographics, people are spending more and more of their time engaging through social media, which means that to give our websites the best possible chance for success, we have to connect with and engage through social media as well. Like I say, we don't have to, but if you don't, I think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So tips in terms of content, and this is relates to two things. One is this is what people want. Secondly, this is what Google wants. And they're the same list because Google has always said from the beginning, we want what people want. Please give us what people want. Our job is to give people, like Google has always said that its job is to deliver the best content for its users. And if it delivers bad content for its users, then the people will go to different search engines. And that's how Google became the dominant search engine, by delivering better content on page one. Now, Google has a bit of a conflict of interest because it also makes its money through advertising. So a lot of those pages, the search result pages, are dominated by ads these days. So the whole thing gets a little teeny bit messy. But they have been very, very consistent in terms of what they look for in terms of content from publishers like us. And they really do ask for the same that a user would ask for. In other words, make it original. Do not, when you're building your pages, creating your pages, think, oh my goodness, I'm on a bit of a deadline. Why I just cut and paste this stuff from Wikipedia? That seems good. Don't do that. That's not original content. Make all your content original. It's your work. Doesn't mean to say, like with my new topic, I'm learning like a crazy thing. It's a topic I know something about, but I don't know enough about. So I'm in this deep learning phase as well. So my side is almost like join me on the journey. I'm not pretending to be a world-class expert. So if I'm writing a new page, I will have reference materials, books that I've purchased, studies that I've found online, other websites where I think it's really good information. And I will have like a stack, say, of 10 resources relating to this page I'm going to write. And then I will start writing the page. And what I'm doing is I'm not cutting and pasting from any of the 10. I am learning from those 10 resources. I'm reorganizing it in my mind the way I think my readers would appreciate the delivery of this information. So I'm going to other people's content as a learning resource, but when I actually put words on paper, it is my original content working from that. I never cut and paste stuff. I might cut and paste a phrase, or particularly if it's a scientific word or something like that I think I might mess up, I'll cut. But I don't ever cut and paste. I know people out there will cut and paste, a paragraph from resource 1, then a paragraph from resource 2, and then a paragraph from resource 3, and they think that's okay. First of all, it's not okay because that content will never be really, really good. Secondly, Google can figure that out very quickly when you do that, and you won't get those brownie points that you want from Google. All right, next up, less short content. Like I said earlier, really try to focus on writing the longer content. It will serve you better over the long term. And will make you look good and build your brand in the short term when people immediately, when they go to your web. It's one of the things I'm trying to do with my new website. One of the reasons I'm doing fairly long content is I want people's first impression to be, oh, okay, this is a serious resource. This is serious information on this topic. This isn't kind of skinny stuff. This is like, this guy is serious about this. So definitely less short content, high value content, like really helpful. And that can be some of those pages like how to or 10 ways, or hey, just simply things like how to adjust your gears on a mountain bike. Something like that can be very high value. Oh, high value content. I'll give you some high value content. We recently, the weekend, we had a ton of snow here in Montreal. And usually I just shovel snow, but when it gets to about 9 inches or a foot, I say, forget that. And I go out the back. I got a snow blower, which I got all ready in the fall, ready for the winter. And so I pull on the starting cord to start it, and the cord breaks. So I'm shoveling like crazy. And at the end of the day, I go back in and I've taken off the kind of that part, the bit where it's got the spring and coil in there. I've taken that off. I take it upstairs. I've got some cord to replace the cord, but I'm not quite sure how to do it because I've messed up on that before on a lawnmower. So what do? I go to YouTube. And I say, how do I replace, replace the cord in blah, blah, blah. And there's this old guy, I don't know, well, I say old guy, he's probably my age, but he was like in his garage with a kind of camera or phone set up. And he said, okay. And he had this table and he said, here's how you do it. And I looked at it and it took like his how to video. And it wasn't one of those like relentless, like, listen to me, I'm an amazing person thing. It was just like, okay, here's how to get the job done. It was like 3 minutes max. And I read it and I thought, man, and I just grabbed the thing and I just did it. Like, and I was done. And I turned to my wife and said, I can't believe it. I thought I was going to have to go and buy a new, because I've tried before and failed. But that piece of content, in fact, it was a short video, but video was exactly the right medium to use because it showed me how to. Yeah, high value content. I went back downstairs, I screwed it on, pulled the thing first time, and I was out there. And the blow was, that's high value content. So in that case, so again, when you think about it, what's the best way to do that? Is it with text page? Is it with images? Is it with video? In that case, absolutely with video. The visual instruction of seeing how it was done with his hands poking around and threading stuff. And then rewinding definitely. And so, yeah, always think of like, what is it that my reader, what's their situation? I was a classic situation. He wrote that for me. The guy who goes out in a snowstorm, pulls once on his snowblower and the cord breaks. That was exactly for me. And as a result, it was very, very high value content. No duplicate content. So again, this is old school. This is back in the days when everyone thought they could fool Google, and they could for a while, but you can't anymore. This is one of the things that the Penguin update hammered is duplicate content. So we're going back to 2011, 2012. So it's been a long time since you could mess around like this. And that is people would write a page and they would put it on their website and then post it to a article website, and they'd put it up here and they'd post it in their blog and they'd post it somewhere else and they'd put it up on LinkedIn, and then they'd fiddle around and do 5 variations of the same thing and publish it on their website. It's duplicate content. There's a lot of this. It's the same stuff republished in different places and in different forms within the same place. And people thought it was terribly clever because they knew they needed lots of content to attract the search engines. But it was clever for a while, up until the point where Google said, no, thank you. And after that, not good at all. So you got to be, like I said, you got to really think of yourself as the teenager who's broken the law and is being interviewed by that grizzled old detective. Whatever you think you can come up with to fool Google, no, you can't. Think you can, but you can't. So just do it straight, do it right. That's always how I've done it, right from the get-go, and it's served me just fine. And always go for quality over quantity. So that thing that I get it in my mind of like, oh my goodness, it's like, it's Thursday already and I meant to get that thing done this week. I got a couple of hours before dinner time. So I'll just write down and 400 words will do. Terrible decision. Terrible, far better off. So you know what? Like, just breathe, give yourself a few extra days and turn that into something really good, that's longer. And maybe shoot that video that you thought you could get away with not shooting, or add the photos or take the photos or whatever. Incidentally, I don't know whether I've mentioned this before on images. I may have, if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. I was at a lunch years ago now at a conference, and one of the people in the group, it turns out, worked for the search group at Google. Which is a terrible thing to admit to at a table full of internet marketers over lunch, because everyone's got 1,000 questions for you. But I wasn't going to let the opportunity slip by, because I did have this one question, which was, hey, does Google know whether a photograph on my coffee site is an original photograph by me or a stock photo that I've picked up from, iStock photo or whatever, Getty Images? Does Google know the difference between a stock photo and an original photo? And follow-up question, if so, does Google care? And the answer she gave me, and she works for the Google search group, was yes and yes. Google does know the difference between a stock photo and an original photograph. And yes, Google prefers original photography. So basically, Google prefers original everything, original writing, original content, original photography, original video. So people ask me sometimes, again, on video, hey, Nick, if I go to YouTube, isn't it true that I can actually grab, there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos. I could grab and embed in my website? And yes, you can. You can, and not every, some publishers say, no, this is not for sharing, but mostly, with a lot of videos on YouTube, you can grab the embed code and you can embed that video, someone else's video on your website, which is great for them because they're getting free publicity on your website. And you may think it's great for you because you're getting some videos up quickly without having to, do the legwork. I'm not a big fan of that because, like I say, basically I'm just advertising the other guy on my website, and I'm broadcasting the fact that he can be bothered to make great videos and I can't. So yes, you can, but I wouldn't make a habit of it. You're far better off taking your own photographs if you can, and it can be fun. It can be kind of fun, like my new project, like with coffee. Like suddenly I was like everywhere taking pictures. I was drove my wife nuts. I'd say, we'd be walking down the street and I'd have to run into every coffee shop just to take photos of the interiors and just everything. And when I went to Jamaica, invited to Jamaica by the coffee people there, I took like over 1,000 photographs. So it can actually add to your life. It kind of adds a different layer. And this new website, that's actually going to get me a hint here. It's going to get me more out into the country, taking photographs of stuff. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to how content creation for this new topic is going to add this other layer of interest, not just interest to my life in an academic sense, but it's actually going to get me out of the house in doing different things, different ways, seeing the world through different eyes. So that's all fun. So I've talked about social media. We've covered the big. Look at that, time flies. Goodness me. Pay attention. So in the bottom row in the center there's the Coffee Detective website. But then around going clockwise from there, I got Pinterest, I got YouTube, I got Instagram, I've got Twitter, I've got Facebook. So I've tried them all. Now, the two platforms that give me the best return are Facebook and YouTube. So Twitter, I've got like 5,000 people, I think, following me on Twitter but it's like nobody pays attention to me at all. It's like almost Twitter does not work for me at all. Pinterest, I get some activity, some traction, but if I'm going to spend time, I spend time on Facebook and YouTube. So you may want to do the same as you kind of try everything, and that's not everything. They're just the kind of the big ones. Try different platforms and you'll find some, I know that Pinterest is amazingly good for some people and Twitter is amazingly good for some people. So get out there, get yourself involved across the board. So the picture at the bottom right there, Facebook, that image, I took that years ago. That is in Manhattan somewhere. And I was just there visiting family and we walked into this coffee shop and they had all this coffee in these burlap sacks. And I thought, that's great. And I took a whole bunch of pictures and that picture's been up there forever. But social media can really help. Invite your readers to contribute. So again, it's social media on the left. I got into this conversation with Jesse Cohen. And it was just a conversation. And I said, if you get into the third one, I said, hey, invitation for you. Take some photos, write 500 words or so on your experience, and I'll publish them on my site. He says, just said, wow, thanks. Color me surprised. I can't promise the picture will be great. But, and then on the right, that was it. In fact, I think it's the only guest page on Coffee Detective. But it was just a conversation and a page of content that thousands of people have seen since. And I got 10 different photographs in there, I think, on that topic. When you get to ads, just be careful. So here's games, online gaming website, and basically all you see is ads. Don't do that. Don't do that. And in fact, for my new website, I don't plan on having any ads for the first little while. I just want to build value and build the content. But even when you have a bit of an audience, even when it's time to monetize the site, always make your website more about the content than about the ads. Don't let the ads dominate the way they do here. Final filter for all your content. Is that page good enough to be published in a print magazine? This is a really tough one. So if I'm doing one of my rushed articles or a rushed post, And if I'm being tough on myself, I'll say, hang on. And I think of some fancy coffee. Okay, we'll go back to Better Homes and Gardens. Let's say I have my theme is gardening in some sense, growing vegetables or whatever. And I write something. If I stop and ask myself, hey, if I were invited by the editor of Better Homes and Gardens to contribute an article for their print magazine, would I be happy to send this off to that editor? And the answer is almost always no. If it's for the editor of a respected print magazine, man, you're going to really work on that. You're going to put in double, triple time. At least I am, because I'm not just trying to impress myself, which basically means fooling myself. I'm trying to genuinely impress a professional editor of a major magazine. So it's going to be my best work. Well, why don't I do that for myself? Why not? Why don't I make every page good enough to be printed in a fancy print magazine? Why don't I set the same standards for my own website? Well, I kind of know why, because I'm lazy. But I'm not really lazy. I work really hard. But it's really hard to hold yourself to that standard all the time. But the more you can, the better. Conclusion, as I've already run out of time, optimize your content for the search engines. That's that first bit about finding the match between the keywords and the content you want to create. Optimize your content for your readers. Basically, always put your readers first. If you have to choose between pleasing the search engine or pleasing your reader, which is not usually a choice you have to face, but if you do, put your readers first. Make your content interesting, engaging, useful, helpful, not just a Wikipedia entry. Just make it like really, like must read content. And make your content worth sharing so that people look at it and say, oh my goodness, I got to tell my friends, my family, my group, my whatever, about this. And make it uniquely engaging by being you. And that means inserting your voice. Again, don't write it as if you're writing a school essay, you're writing for Wikipedia. Allow some of your own character to shine through. Do it in your voice. That's what makes it different from everyone else's website. One of the things. And now, 14 minutes late, we get to questions. So I'll try and answer them quickly, Cam, which again is tough for me.
Yeah, we have like over 40 questions, so this is going to be fun.
I'm so bad at timekeeping. Carry on.
It's all good. So the first question I had come in before we started from Donna. What are meta tags? What does it mean for a page to be coded? Both are in the reading, but she's just looking for more.
A meta tag is the title. It's actually called individually the title tag. When I was talking about the title and the description, these are off-page things. These are things that are in the source file for your page, but people when they open up your web page don't see the description, and unless they go up to the tab there, they don't see the title. And these are tags. The description is a description tag. The title is a title tag. So that's what that means. What was the next part of the question?
What does it mean for a page to be coded?
That basically means that if you go to, and again, I'm a Windows person, so if you go to any web page and you right click and you go down and it says source code, another window will open up and you'll see what the actual code behind the programming behind the page. That is what Google looks at. Google does not look at your page. It looks at the source code. So if you want to see what Google sees, right click, drop down to source code, open up that window. And if you go up, and it's not always, but usually towards the top of the page, you will see the tags. You will see the header area, the head area. And you will see description, keyword, and title and things. You won't see keyword, you'll see title, you'll see description. So that's what I mean by the coding of the page.
All right, thanks. Next question from Brian. Finding a domain name has been an interesting activity. Wine and Cheese is the focus of his website. Wineandcheese.com was taken, but was available for about $2,000. Curiously enough, bestwineandcheese.com was available, and now he's bought it.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah,
I saw that in the group. No, I think that's fine. I saw that in the group. I thought that was a good catch.
Awesome.
I like that.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
You're gonna have to, Brian. You're gonna have to make that topic like your own, because it's not like a topic no one else is writing about. So you got to find a way to make it really a kind of uniquely your own place. so that people know to come to you and not to other people. But that's true for all of us.
Cindy's question may have been answered today, but she was a little unsure about when to make a page versus when to make something in a post. Do you have any insight about that?
Basically, it's decided for you. So if you're using Solo Build It or a platform like that, it's always a page. There isn't really a plugin. There isn't really a blogging function within Solo Build It. If you're using WordPress, you will choose down the left-hand side. There's a navigation. You'll either click on where it says page or you'll click where it says post. If you click on a page, you're creating an individual page within that site. If you click on post, you are basically creating the next entry in your blog. So if I go to the blog tab, I will see your latest post. And under that, I'll see the post you did before. And under that, I'll see the post you did before that. Yeah.
So the post is a blog post and a page is just a page on the website.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Joni's asking, how many levels is good for SEO? I read that you shouldn't go more than 3 levels because the other content gets buried. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, but I think basically, say Coffee Detective, like 90% of the pages are within the second of them. So most of them are in that third level, right? So I've got the home page, that's the first level. I've got the category pages, that's the second level. Say I've got 6 or 7 category pages. And then under there, I have my third level, and that is basically where most of Coffee Detective content lives. I probably have some fourth level, but certainly in terms of people finding a page, it's easier if you stick to 3. You can do those little crumb trail things across the top, so people can kind of see where they are, like as they go down into the site. But yeah, at level 3 or 4. I certainly wouldn't go beyond 4, and I'd try to keep most of my content within level 3.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question I have is from Bonnie. What is the difference between the title and the headline?
Like I said, the headline is that nice big headline you have on the page. It's what people see. They open up the page and there's a headline and maybe a big fat image and then the opening to the body text. So it's like the headline of a news story in a magazine, the headline, wherever. It's how people start a page of content. They read the headline. On a sales page, you read the headline. The title is the title tag that you write, and that is the alternative headline, the other version of your headline, that is basically there for the search engines, and it's what people read when they see your listing in the search results in Google or Bing or Yahoo or whatever.
Okay, great. Next question from Steve. What percentage of keywords or phrases would you include in a single page of content without it being classed as keyword stuffing?
Well, that's going to depend on the length of the page. But I just don't think that way. So when you talk about keyword stuffing, it's like in the olden days, people used to say, okay, if I want to rank well for stovetop espresso, I'm going to use that phrase in every paragraph of the page. The result is that it reads really weirdly. If you're a human reading it, it's like, what does this guy keep saying stovetop espresso? It's just like, it's like beginning to bug me. So you don't want to do that anyway, just from a reader point of view. And also Google can see what you're doing these days. Like if you really want to know how sneaky people used to get, they'd create a page, let's say with a light blue background of the page. And then what they'd do is they'd write a whole bunch of text on the page, basically repeating their keyword or phrase 100 times. But for the font color, they would choose the same color blue. So this meant that as a visitor, you wouldn't see those words. But if you went to the source code for the page, Google would see that it wouldn't realize it was just blue on blue. Google would just see all this repetition. And again, for a very short period of time, it worked. And then as soon as Google figured out what people were doing, it didn't work. And then people carried on and Google penalized them and de-indexed them and stuff. So a
Okay.
light touch, a lighter touch, and in fact, I deliberately don't repeat a keyword or phrase too often. And if I find myself doing it, if that's what the content is almost requiring me to do, I start thinking of, well, what alternative phrases, alternative terms, alternative words could I use, so that it doesn't look and feel like I just keep saying the same thing over and over.
Okay, great. And next question I have from Chuck. I have decided to use SBI for my money-making website, but would you recommend using SBI for my freelance writer website?
Can do. I use SBI for my money-making websites. I use WordPress for my business websites. I just find it, I don't know why. You can use it. You can use SBI. I can't think of a reason why you would, why it's worse. But for some reason, all my own business websites, I do in WordPress.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So next question from Sherry. I have used Word Tracker for several different ideas, but I'm yet to see any information about KEI. What am I doing wrong?
It doesn't say KEI in the far right-hand column when you use Word Tracker. I must admit I haven't used it for a while, but for the last 20 years, the final column on the right, it says at the top KEI, Keyword Effectiveness Index.
Okay, cool. Sherry, write back if that doesn't work.
She says that doesn't work?
Okay, next.
Oh, okay.
No, I was telling Sherry to write back if it doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
For some reason. Let's see. So the next question I have is from Michelle. Should you use alt text for your logo image on your pages?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. But again, not for a keyword thing, but just to help people who can't see. Just use it for its original purpose.
Okay, great. Next question from Eleanor. Would it be possible on SBI to write quite a few pages plus the data for them, et cetera, before any of it goes public? Otherwise, someone might visit the site before we're ready and think we aren't offering much. On
an SBI site, it's kind of weird. As soon as you start building an SBI site, it is by default available out there. You can, and you're going to get in the forum and ask, just check on how to do it. But you basically, what you want to do is you want to do a no index and a no follow tag in your header. So that if Google stumbles across your website, you're telling it, saying, hey, excuse me, don't index this right now, please. So that's actually what I've got, but I didn't do it. I had someone else do it for me, which is why I'm not telling you immediately how to do it, because I'm not sure how he did it. But you go to the forum in SBI and see if you can ask how to add a no index tag to your website while you're starting out. And then
okay.
as soon as if you do that, if you have a no index tag and a no follow tag in your header, then the search engines will ignore it. And then also just don't mention the link. Don't link to it from anywhere until you are ready to go. And when you are ready, you make sure you remove that no index, no follow tags from the header, and then you can start linking to it from social media and your friends, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, cool. All right, great idea. Gloria is asking, what is a plugin?
A plugin is, so you've got WordPress, you're going to get your WordPress theme, and then there are 100,000 developers, coders out there who are creating add-ons, ways to add extra functionality to WordPress, and these are called plugins. You basically plug it in to WordPress and it adds some functionality. So Yoast is a kind of SEO plugin. You may have you may want to have something to help you with sending out emails. So it could be an email plugin. And there are thousands of them. So again, if you install WordPress and you go down that left-hand navigation and scroll down, you will find a little button that says plugins. And you will see the plugins that have been installed. Sometimes some of them are installed by default with the theme, but you can also search for a plugin. So you just title it, you're going to type in what you're looking for. Hey, I want a social media plugin. So you just type in social media and you'll get a whole bunch of suggested plugins for social media.
Okay, great. Interesting. So Sherry wrote back that in regards to the KEI question. And then Jennifer wrote, no KEI for me either. So they're saying it stops at IAAT.
Oh, I wonder if are you on a free trial?
Sherry, are you on a free trial? I'm not doing it, so I haven't seen it.
Okay. Like my mind is in. If you create a, oh man, I'm gonna have to look this up. I think you actually have to kind of.
Yes, she is on a free trial. She said.
All right, but then if you have to create a. I can't remember. It's coming back to me. I'm gonna have to look at this, and I will get back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Or even better, I'll ask Jim Wright to get back to you. He knows the answer to that one. Right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. So Estelle is asking, is posting twice a month too little, or is once a week better?
Once a week is better. And again, in the early stages, you want to be a bit of a content crazy person, because you want to get those numbers up, to a reason. My experience with Coffee Today was classic. Is that I was the first year I was probably creating content 2 or 3 pages a week, but I was nuts about it. You don't have to, and then once you've got a solid body of content, then you can relax a bit. Incidentally, sort of like that KEI question, I think in fact there's already a bonus video on the member page by Jim Wright on Word Tracker. Maybe someone can have a peek for me. I think it's there as a bonus. If it is, he will answer that question within that video.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure anyway.
Okay, great. So next question. Estrella is asking, even the homepage needs to have 500 plus words?
No. Homepage is different. Homepage is like a shop window. You're just going to show, hey, here's the great stuff we got inside. So no, please don't write a great long copy for your homepage. Your homepage should be the page with the least amount of copy on it. It should just have lots of like little, I don't know, images or yeah. Go to the Coffee Detective website. Have a look at how I built my homepage. I'm not saying it has to look like that or has to be like that. But have a look at how light it is on copy. All I'm doing is I'm writing enough to help people get to the page they really want to visit. Please don't write an essay on your homepage. No, definitely not. Do not, no big fat long blocks, paragraphs on your homepage, please. Go to urbanchickenfarm.com. Another example of excellent use of space on a homepage.
All right. So the next question, there's a few questions about the same thing in regards to revising a page. Number 1, will you return to a posted page and revise it? Number 2, if you're able to go back and update posts later, is it better to add another page or post instead? And or how does Google deal with updated and revised pages?
Right. So yes, I often go back and adjust a page or a post. Sometimes information changes. Sometimes what I said 5 years ago is no longer accurate today. So I'll update a page because I want the information to be current and accurate and helpful. Other times I'll go back to a page and I'll think, what was I thinking? This needs improving. I'm going to add some more text. I'm going to add some images. I'm going to add a video, whatever. And that helps. Does Google find it? Yes, it does. And in fact, and I can't remember when we talk about it. We're going to talk about it in a week or two. We're going to talk about something called sitemaps, which is all about helping Google know where and when you have made changes and updates to your site, to individual pages on your site. But yes, I do. And sometimes, the beginning of 2019, I went nuts for a couple of months. And I went back and I probably improved 30 or 40 pages on Coffee Detective. and it had a significant impact on my traffic. So that wasn't new pages, it wasn't new content, it was just improving old content.
Okay, great. And how does Google deal with that when you update or revise pages? Do they go back and...
We'll talk about that when we talk about sitemaps, which will happen in a week, either next week or the week after.
Okay, sounds good.
How can we still have 45 questions? No, it's just going to have 46 questions.
They just keep coming in as quick as we're answering them. I don't even know how many we answered.
The same thing happened last week. Okay,
so
keep going.
How long are you here? How long can you answer questions?
I don't know. I think I went to bed about 11 o'clock. Kidding. We try to finish at 4. So we've got just under half an hour. We've got to power up here. We've got to power away here.
Okay, cool. All right. So Barbara's asking you to share one of your well-performing pages with us so we can see what one looks like. Do you have like a favorite or a best performing page or anything you can point people to take a look on one of your sites?
I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to...
All right, Barbara, he's going to take us there.
Right, so isn't that what you asked?
Yeah,
so
no, that's great.
I'm going to go back to, and now I've completely lost myself. Now here I am. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go here. I'm going to share. All right, everyone see the Coffee Detective page?
Yeah.
Look at it, all that advertising, way too much advertising. So just first of all, see the coffee. I've got a headline. I got images. I got a subhead. I got 2 lines of text. And then under there, all I have is enough text to take persons to the best coffee maker, best drip coffee maker, single serve brewer, best coffee grinder. See, no long paragraphs. It's just, hey, here's all the good stuff in here. All right. In terms of good performing, best coffee makers is a good performing page. So I've got how to find the best coffee maker. I've got a video. I got text. I got images getting taken by me. I got ads. There's a personal favorite going to another page. Then I get a drip brewers. Going to write all about that. There's our favorite drip brewer, the Bonavita. Now we're going to talk about French presses, my photograph. Here we've got text, more links within the site. Now we're going to talk about pour over coffee makers, my photo, my stuff. More, you see, coffee percolator, my photograph, my coffee percolator. Final thoughts. Look at that. See how long this page is? All the different images. Look, and now I got a survey. Now I got a quiz in there. What kind of coffee maker do you use the most? So I'm collecting that information, and now I got more links, and I got some ads, and I got a like thing, and I got more further reading, and I got a whole bunch of more links. These are level 3 links, and then an invitation to subscribe to Coffee Detective Newsletter. So look, all right. So this is a page filled with content, filled with value, filled with useful information, filled with personal photographs that are taken, plus a video. And incidentally, if you haven't been there yet, I was telling you about this. There is now a Coffee Detective coffee shop. Who guessed? Look, I'm going to see if I can.
Cool.
I know I can see. I want to see if I can create a like a copywriter brand. I'm working on that right now. I want to do it. Anyway, we can stop sharing with that and get back to the next question. So yeah, like you see that best coffee maker. It is a long page, lots of original content, lots of words, lots of images, big images, lots of useful, links to other pages on the site that are related.
Very cool. Thank you. Next question is from Ari. And one thing people make jokes about are recipe pages where there's a very long story before you get to the recipe. What are your thoughts on that? So she's going to do a very niche cooking site. That's what she's planning to do. And I can sympathize with that. I usually scroll down so I can find the recipe. Maybe switch it up to your story after the recipe. I don't know.
It's kind of fun. So recipes is like no copyright on a recipe. If you just have ingredients and instructions, anyone can grab it and put it on their own website. What you can copyright, what people cannot steal, is the story. Like, this is a family recipe and my Aunt Hilda, blah, blah, blah. That's why they have stories, to make the page
Okay.
their own and protectable under copyright. Now, people are going to say, so, but you make an interesting point, is that a lot of us will go there and it's like, okay, more blah, blah. You just scroll down into the recipe.
Right.
But if you, so long as you do it, so long as it is, so long as it's related to your topic, so long as it's interesting, so long as it is relevant, then yeah, I think a story can add a lot of value. But I know that's one of the drivers, is you cannot copyright just instructions and ingredients. You have to add something unique like story to make the page copyrightable.
This makes sense. Okay. And how about our contact page? Does Google want to see over 500 words on that one as well?
No, not at all. No, they're not. They don't get nuts on that, because obviously, look, the longer we're here, the more questions we have.
Right.
No, obviously a contact page is not going to be that long.
Okay, cool. So, Clarissa created a blog 3 years ago and did everything in the wrong order, and wants to say thank you for a process to follow for the new website.
Oh, okay.
So
good.
that's just a thank you. Tammy says, on the comments, do you have to approve each comment? And can you talk a little about how this works on WordPress?
In WordPress, you're going to set it up. You're going to have one of the first plugins you're going to get in WordPress is called, I believe it's called a Kim set, although I always often get it wrong. Do a Google search for a Kim set. Tim, if you're there, check it out. Make sure I got it right. Is it a Kim set? Anyway, it's a plugin, and basically it allows you to review and moderate. But actually, what it does, it gets rid of all the spam. There's comment spam. There's spam everywhere. There's email spam. There's comment spam, where somebody says, you'll get a comment saying, oh, I really love this blog post. It's so good. It's so valuable. I think your readers might be interested in, and then a link back to their place. And they've never even been. It's like automated. It's just nonsense. So you install a plugin that filters out comment spam. What remains, I would strongly recommend that you moderate the comments before you publish them, because some of them are just going to be nonsense. Some of them are going to be self-serving. And I'm only interested in adding comments that add value to that conversation, to that thread. So if they add value to the conversation, I approve them. If they don't, I don't.
Okay, cool. And how can they get comments on pages in SBI? Does it become obvious? They've only used WordPress before.
Comments as a kind of function are kind of native to blogs. There's a tool, there's an area within SBI called Content 2.0, which I'm a big fan of, where you can actually open up comments to pages. You can't just like click it and it adds comments to any kind of page, like your home page. But if you are creating pages that invite user input, those are the ones where you can have comment streams underneath within SBI.
Okay, cool. So Marjan here has a live website that's 10 years old. Some of the blogs do perform well based on Google Analytics, but genuine comments are very few and far between. She does get those spam comments you were talking about. But do you know why people don't comment?
Well, a lot of it will be down to the volume of traffic you're getting to those pages, because only a small proportion of people will comment. It also depends on how well you have nurtured that community, so that if you do get comments, acknowledge them and say thank you and comment back. Sometimes people will ask questions in comments, so answer them. So you can have these nested comments where someone asks a question in a comment. Maybe they make a comment, maybe they contribute something, and then they ask a question. And then as the site owner, you want to re-engage. And the more you re-engage with your readers like that, the more likely that person and other people are to continue interacting. Another thing you can do is actually within the content itself, as you wrap up towards the end, you can say, hey, look, I'd love if any of you guys have had experience with this, like finding a non-pesticide way of getting dandelions out of your garden. If any of you guys have anything to share, please add them in the comments. Share it. Add a comment below. So there, you're actually inviting people. Deliberately inviting people to add comments. That can definitely work. But it's like any kind of comment stream, whether it's in social media or in a blog, is you have to work at it. You have to kind of nurture that community so that people feel welcome and acknowledged and recognized when they do contribute.
Okay, great. And so when would you consider using a static page from Olivia? Thought it was more if you're offering services versus blog content.
No. Like I say, basically, if you get a coffee detective, it's all pages. It's
okay, great.
Let me just do a very briefly. I'm going to share back to where is it? Oh, there it is. Because is it? I think I gotta go.
There we go. We're back at Coffee Detective.
Yeah, but hang on, I gotta go back. I'm messing this up. What was the question again?
The question was, when would you consider using a static page?
Right. Every page on Coffee Detective is a static page, except where I say Coffee Blog, which isn't really a blog, because all it is basically an announcement of. So here's the question about, somebody asked about this, I recently ordered Crops Quattro Force, blah, 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 blah. And if I click through, that's where I said, I don't know the answer, but maybe someone else does. This is SPI's version of a blog. So it's not really a blog at all. It's just announcing new pages or updated pages. So basically in terms of content, every single page on this site is a page. It's not a blog post. It's just a page. See this? These are all my photos as we go through here. If you can. So this is a coffee grinder page. Same thing. This again, just wherever I go, whenever I went, like in a store that had these grinders with these, which I thought was kind of cool. So I just took pictures.
So looking at your blog, kind of, it brings up Michelle's question. She's seen pages where there are several entries that begin on the same page, kind of like what we just saw, showing the entry title and the first few sentences, a link to the page for the blog entry. Does Google like that, or are you better off just having the entire blog entries and not?
No, you'll always have. Going back. I'm going back, and now I'm going to move that out of the way, and now I'm going to go to.
And for the how-to pages, do we always need to include a video in the page?
No. So look, this is my Nick Osborne site, and the first page is a static page. All right, but again, not too much copy. It's just helping people get in. But look, I have a blog. So this is WordPress. So lots of static pages, but I have a blog. And when I go to the blog, so here's from a couple of weeks ago or so, as I scroll down, read the full post. Here's the post from before. Here's the post from before. Cool. So that's how blogs are generally shown, is you just have this introduction followed by a link. And then if somebody says, oh, well, that one's interesting, then you click on the link, and then that takes you to the full page of content.
Okay, great. And so Estrella is asking, if I write 3 different posts, like part 1, part 2, and part 3 with the same title, will Google penalize that?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll figure it out. Okay. But I would definitely say part 1, part 2, and part 3. So there's a clue to Google that, hey, this is, so there's a variation in the headline. And of course, the content of the page is going to be different.
Right. And so let's see this next question. It's from Tammy. When creating our content, should we create something to give away in exchange for the reader's email address? Can you talk about what kind of giveaways work well, and do you recommend a graphic designer to help make it look professional? Yes.
I should probably stay on share screen, shouldn't I? Hang on, I'm going to share that. What have I got? Here, look, I got a newsletter here. look, get this free 35-page guide for writing for the web when you sign up for the Excess Voice newsletter. Remember my terrible Excess Voice domain? So basically, that's a PDF download that I'm offering in exchange if you sign up for the newsletter. Incidentally, something here. A lot of people say, sign up for the Excess Voice newsletter and get this free 35-page guide. In other words, they ask, please sign up, and then they offer the freebie. If you flip it around the way I do, you offer the freebie first, get this free 35-page guide, and then the ask is in the second half, you will get better conversion rates. Just a short aside there in terms of how to get more people to sign up. And there, yeah, you just make it look pretty. So so definitely, if you don't have design skills, then you do well to have someone help you out with that.
Okay, cool. And would having lots of photos slow down the website load speed? I don't think so. Probably not with the
It can
company,
do,
right?
It can do. So that is why all of those images are. I've mentioned this before. I use a tool called Photoshop Elements, which is basically a light version of Photoshop. And it has various ways you can save an image. And one of the options is to save for web. And what that does is it takes a huge file size and it reduces it into a very small file size. Because it can be a problem. If you take a photograph with your phone and it's this huge 4 megapixel file, megabyte file, or a 10 megabyte file or whatever, and you got 10 pictures, then that is going to load really slowly on a site. Okay. So each of your images, and there are various other tools out there. There are free tools there that you can use to take your image. Basically, what they're doing is they're taking out a whole bunch of pixels out of the image, and you can't see the difference in the quality, but it massively reduces the file size. So yes, you should do that on your images before you post them to your site.
Cool. And how do you share a link on Instagram? So I know that when you make a post on Instagram and you include a link, it's not actually clickable. I know that you have to create a link tree, I believe, which is on the back end of your profile. And then you can put links there. So you tell people to go to your profile.
So within Instagram, you can have one link within your profile. So that appears at the top of the page. So you can have your website link. But right. If you want to link to individual pages or offers or landing pages or whatever, then you have to use these third-party tools, like I think you mentioned Linktree and stuff. Right. So yeah, you have one choice within Instagram, and beyond that, you have to use these third-party services.
That's what I've been seeing people do if they're linking to a blog post or something and wanting to share it there. Yeah. So Tammy's asking, do you manage your own social media content or do you outsource it?
I manage my own.
Okay.
You definitely can outsource it, but in terms of like a money making website, I'm just trying to keep the expenses low. Certainly in the early stages until it starts generating some revenue. I don't want to do too much for cost up front. Hey, I'm prepared to spend some money up front to make it work, to make it good. I take care of my own social media because I want it to be the voice. I want it to be the place where my individual voice is at its most obvious, or I hesitate to use the word authentic. It's where I want to be me. Social media is a really good place to be me, or to be you. So in one sense, it's almost the worst worst thing to outsource. I mean, I get it, and I have clients who outsource it all the time because I have to. But there's huge benefits to being yourself, to present and share yourself within social media.
Okay, great. Yeah, Tammy was just worried about how time-consuming it might be. She doesn't really do a lot of social media, but she thinks it would benefit her website.
Yeah, and I don't spend a huge amount of time on it. It's not like no.
Yeah. Is it okay to use curated content?
So by that, I guess what you're saying is it like, okay, to create a page, here's 10 resources that I found on the web on this topic. And then basically you're curating other people's stuff. Yes, it can be very valuable. I wouldn't make it the bulk of a website. In fact, with my new topic, the newsletter I send out my newsletter will probably be a set of curated kind of links going out once a month. Here are the top 10 things I found this month on this topic. You can do the same with your web content, but I wouldn't go too far on it because it's like, I don't know, Google might look at it and say, well, is this really original content? Because, there's curation services. You can just there's all kind of curation services out there. You can just go and cut and paste and drop onto a page. And I'm not sure Google will be very impressed with that.
Right. So, and that actually leads into the next question from Nick. Do you cut and paste if you cut and paste a phrase, do you have to list sources, etc., for legal reasons?
If it's just a few words, then no, I don't. If I'm really referencing, if I'm taking like a quote, I might say, hey, in Jim Wright's recent post, he said, and I'll take a chunk of like 5 lines from his website. So yeah, I'm going to attribute that. I'm not going to pretend I wrote it. I'm going to attribute it to him, and I'm going to provide a link back to that page. But if I'm writing something and there's some weird phrase where, it's a common phrase, it's not like I'm stealing someone's original piece of work. Hey, there's some famous artist who said something like, if you grab the work of one other person, it's theft. But if you grab the work of 10 other people and create something of yourself, it's called art or creativity. So hey, everything, nothing is ever entirely from the ground up. We're always looking to resources for information.
Right. And are there things we need to worry about, legalities of showing pictures, other people's art, etc.?
You are not entitled to just grab other people's pictures. Like if you have a website on coffee and you had coffee machines, you are not allowed to go to my website and grab my pictures of my coffee machines. That's my copyright. I can copyright images. They are copyright by default. So either you're going to take your own photographs or you're going to go to, a site like unsplash.com or what's it called? So many of them. And I always forget its name. So if I go back here, I share it again, I enter my browser and I move that stupid thing and I go to, here we go. Here's one that is Pixabay. All right. Sign up for Pixabay. It's free. And I can type in here, coffee cup. And these top ones are sponsored, but all of these, all right? So now I can just go here, I can sign up, I can register, and I'm free to use any of these images. All right? So
cool.
So Pixabay is completely free. All right. Sometimes, like these ones at the top come from iStock photo, and they tend to be of a higher quality. So sometimes you might want to pay for an image. But otherwise, you can get sources like Pixabay and get them for free.
Okay, great. When you create a post or page and the main piece of content is a video you want them to watch, how many words should the post have at that point?
I'll tell you how I do it. So I do video reviews of equipment on Coffee Detective. And what I do is I try out the equipment. Then I write the page as if there were never going to be a video. Not everyone likes video. I like watching video. My wife can't stand video. She wants to read text instead. So if on one of my Coffee Detective pages, she would scroll straight past the video and go straight to the text. So what I do is I write the text first, as if there were never going to be a video. And I do that for a very particular reason, is if I write the text first, that now I've kind of organized my thoughts, I've organized the information, I've figured out what sequence, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. And then, within a couple of hours of finishing it, I will then set up the camera. And now I'm going to shoot the video. And the video is going to be, in terms of presentation of the information, is going to be much cleaner and I'm going to stumble less and say less, because I have the whole sequence. I have all the information fresh in my mind from having just written the page. So now I'm on video, and it's almost like I have the script in my head from writing that page first. So that's how I do it. And there have been times where I've done just a video and then a short piece of text underneath, but generally I write the text first as if the video is never going to exist, because I know that not everyone likes video. That said, if a regular page without a video was going to be 800 words, in terms of pleasing Google, I can probably do 500 words now, because Google will accept the video as added value for that page, and I'll get brownie points for that.
Okay, great. And when we're talking about different social media platforms, do you create completely different content for each one, or do you use the same content across different platforms?
It depends on the nature of the content. Like YouTube's going to be video. Instagram's going to be just images. Twitter is probably going to be a combination of words and images. So I might want to share a particular piece of information where I'm going to use images or video or text or a combination. So I'll probably repeat. So if I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and there's an image I want to share, and it's the same topic, it's the same thing, same piece of news, then I will, I'll use the same image. But I try not to do it. I try not to make it exactly the same across different social media, but I don't think it matters if you do from time to time.
Okay, great. Winnell would like to turn my site into a podcast as well. That sounds cool. Sorry, I guess it wasn't a question, but that is awesome.
Yeah.
So Sarah, at this point, would you recommend that we should have already bought our domain name, server platform, and be working on learning the system we've chosen?
If you are ready, if you've chosen your topic, then yes, go ahead, get your domain name, choose your platform, and remember, like if you say, hey, I'm going to use Solo Build It, then you have to purchase your domain name through Solo Build It. If you are using WordPress and you said, hey, I'm going to use Bluehost as my hosting company, then you will make life easier for yourself if you buy the domain name through Bluehost.
Okay, great. Jennifer's asking, she's certain she wants to write about her life passion, which is horses. She wants to have it be kind of like an equine detective site. She ordered SBI and got immediate overwhelm from all the info overload, because it's a very awesome and very detailed action guide. Can she hold off until after this program, or?
Yes. I think I wrote in response. I think I put something up on the Facebook page. The good thing about the Solo Build It is that there is tons of instruction and information. And the bad thing about Solo Build It is that there's tons of information and instruction. It's like in that place, it's like they never write 100 words where they could write 1,000 instead. It's like, and I'm teasing a little bit, and the information there is amazing. But yeah, it can be really easy to become overwhelmed, particularly at the beginning. So I would, if you complete this program first, and then when you step into the Solo Build It training, there's two things. Some of it is very platform specific, which is, I try not to be platform specific here. Of course, when you get into their training, it's very specific to Solo Build It. So there's tons of stuff there. You'll also see some stuff that overlaps with what I talk about here. But I think if you have my training under your belt, you will find their training a little less overwhelming, because you'll kind of get it a lot of the time as you go through. You'll say, okay, yeah, I already knew that. Yeah, Nick mentioned that. It's not always the case, because like sometimes that information is very specific to their platform and how it works. But yeah, if you want to avoid overwhelm, you might want to complete this program first and then dive into the training on SBI.
Cool. So when you're writing a blog post, there's the tag section on the right-hand side. Is that where we would put keywords or hashtags?
All right. So when I was showing you, so yeah.
Or is it for our purpose? Just
blog posts have this slightly different constructed that they have tags and categories. So you can organize your blog posts into different categories. So I might, on my copywriting website, I might have content writing, sales copywriting, social media writing. These are different categories. So when I'm creating a post within WordPress, in that right-hand side, I will check off in a checkbox. Well, not with my pen, but with my mouse. Yeah, this is about content writing. I can check more than one, but basically I'm saying this post belongs in this category of posts within this blog. I'm also going to tag it. So tags are almost like the social media equivalent of, you have hashtag and then a word, hashtag coffee maker. So you see this across social media. So it's a convention for social media. It's a convention for certainly WordPress blog posts, is that you will then add those tags. And again, it just makes it easier for people to search for that content, and makes it easier for Google to understand that your content relates to this category and these words, these hashtags, which is usually a word or a phrase, a very short phrase.
Okay, great. Derek's asking, he looked at his Google Analytics and the majority of his traffic comes direct. It used to be that 100% of the traffic came direct. Was it better before, or is it better now?
So he's got a website. It depends on the age, but I feel more comfortable when I have a balance, where I have some traffic coming through the search engines, traffic coming through social media, traffic coming direct, which might mean through direct might mean, say, coming through a link in the newsletter or an email or something like that, or maybe somebody's an inbound link, and also traffic from referrals, where someone's found a link to one of my web pages on someone else's website. So there are all these different, there's these referrals, there's the search engine traffic, there's direct traffic, and I hope for a balance between them all, that I'm kind of doing well in all of those areas. I get a little scared if I find myself completely dependent on one source. Like if like you, I was just getting direct, it'd make me a little nervous. I'd be like, hey, how come I'm not getting anything through search engines, or getting anything through social media, or getting anything through referrals? I want it all.
Cool.
I want it all.
Yeah. And so we do still have some more questions, guys, but it is past 4 and we've kept Nick. And I know we won't possibly get to all these questions. Let's
get to 10 past, because I went over on my presentation. So I went to about 10 past on my presentation. So we'll do a full hour of Q&A. So we've got a few more minutes.
All right. So is it true that the more niche a website is, the more Google likes it and ranks it higher?
I wouldn't define it like that. No, I don't think Google has a thing for niche sites as opposed to any other kind of site. In fact, some people would argue and get upset with Google for the opposite, that they're too friendly towards huge companies like Starbucks. I think the only reason you might come across somebody saying Google loves niche sites is because, as we've discussed, if you have a narrow niche, then you can come up with some very specific and unusual keywords and phrases, and that Google will then notice that because no one else is offering that information. So in that sense, Google likes those pages because they're niche, but Google doesn't per se prefer niche sites to other sites. It's just because the search engine optimization can be done much better with a niche site. You can be more competitive.
Okay. What are your thoughts about linking several related domains?
I'm not sure what the question is, but it might be like you're saying, okay, I've got, like for instance, if you type in, I believe, my old domain, accessvoice.com, I believe that redirects you to nickosborne.com. Because in fact, Nick Osborne now serves the purpose that Access Voice used to serve. I don't think it's a big thing. It's not like I have a whole bunch of it. The only thing I think that I bought coffeedetective.com, I've got coffeedetective.net, I believe coffeedetective.net forwards to .com. But are you thinking like, hey, if I have 5 completely different domain names all pointing, is that helpful? Not really. No, I think Google sees it more of a trick than anything else.
Okay. So Marion's asking, if you have a 3-word domain name with "and" in the middle, is it better to write "and" or is an ampersand okay?
Fortunately, you have no option. You cannot put an ampersand in a domain name. So
All
it's
right,
going to be,
then.
it's
That
going to be,
settles
it's going
that.
to, yeah, it settles that one.
Okay, so there is not a bonus video on Word Tracker, but people did find the bonus video with Jim Wright on WordPress. So we found that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I think what you have to
that was
do
that.
in, I think what you have to do in Word Tracker is you have to create a group. It may not be called a group. So on the first page, you get the results and stuff, and you get some columns where you don't see the KEI. And then you save it as a group in the right-hand side. I'm not sure whether group is the exact word, but look for the equivalent of group. When you save it as a group, then if you open up the group, so in other words, you're dragging these keywords over into your group or to your folder or something on the right-hand side. Once you have that and it has a name like coffee beans or whatever, I open that up. And when I open that up, that's when I see the KEI. So try that. The group may not be the right word, but that's the thing, is you're doing a search, you're creating some kind of separate group or folder on the right hand side, you're moving keywords over into it, and when you open up that group or folder, then you see the KEI column. So give that a try.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. So how important is it to have your categories right from the start? If you change them later or move your posts, will it break your links or? No.
Hey, better to get it all sorted out to begin with, like saying, you know what, all the blog posts are going to fall within these 5 categories. So that's because what can happen is people can search by category. They say, okay, I'm going to Nick's blog. He's got these dozens and dozens of blog posts. I only want to see the ones on social media. So they can actually just check. They can, on the right-hand side, they can click on that category and then that is served up. So it's better if you can organize in advance. I've gone back later and said, oh man, I should really have done X. And then you have to go through all your previous posts to kind of check and uncheck stuff. So it's just easier for you. It's easier. It makes your life easier if you get that sorted out at the beginning.
Okay, cool. And can you build a bunch of pages in like Microsoft Word or somewhere else and then copy paste into SBI or your site builder and post them all at once, or should you stage them over time?
I just do them one at a time. And no, do not cut and paste from Word into SBI. It messes stuff up. So if you're going to write, so yes, I write in Word. Then what I do is I copy and paste that into basically a text document. Word has a whole bunch of programming behind it. It has its own source code behind every Word document. When you cut and paste Word into Solo Build It, that source code follows, and it can mess up some of the formatting within Solo Build It. So I, first of all, write it in Word, and then I copy and paste it into basically a .text file, and that does not have source code in the same type in the background. And then I copy and paste from the text file into Solo Build It.
Okay, great. And can you have a static page and then add a forum?
A forum?
Yeah, forum.
I don't know. I haven't had a forum. I haven't built a forum in years, decades. You can add a forum. You can add a forum to a website. I don't think you can add a forum to an individual page as such.
Okay. All right, cool. People are saying thank you. Will you show us how to write our email newsletters? This person does an email newsletter. Derek does an email newsletter on the website, and it's not 100% he's doing it right.
We don't do that as an individual item. No, there isn't a session or a section on writing the newsletter. But you can do you can do newsletters in all kinds of ways. Like I said, I'm going to do like a curated one for my new topic. Like, here's what I've discovered on this topic over the last month. Here's some of the best sources of information that I've found. And I'll add some personal commentary, like what I found interesting about this was blah, 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 blah. Here's a link to the original source. But hey, you can do anything you like really with a newsletter. Often it can be, sometimes I do newsletters of, hey, It's an update of what's changed on the site in the last week or the last month. Is, hey guys, it's me again. Over the last little while, I've done I shot a video on this thing, and I've done a review of this thing, and my wife and I tried a couple of different coffees, and they're basically links to these various resources back on the website. But it depends on the topic. But I wouldn't get stressed out. There isn't really a right or a wrong way to create a newsletter. It's just like, hey, some people write a round robin thing to the family and for the Christmas holidays. Like, here's what the family's been up to for the last year. Newsletter's the same, but it's usually here's what's been going on for the last week or for the last couple of weeks.
Okay, great. And so Aaron has a URL I've been wanting to use for a site like this, and it's registered on register.com. Will that work with any of these platforms?
If you've had it for a while, you can just transfer it over. So if you're going to use WordPress and you're going to host your site on Bluehost or HostGator or wherever, then they'll give you instructions on basically. In that case, you leave the domain name at register.com, and your hosting company will connect with it. If you're using Solo Build It, you'll have to transfer the domain from register.com to Solo Build It. And so long as you've had that domain name for over 60 days, and it sounds like that you have, then that's not a problem. That's just a process you have to go through.
Okay, cool. And do you have to pay to have a page like Coffee Detective on Facebook or YouTube?
Nope. No, you don't. Interesting question, but no, you don't.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Jennifer, let's see. Jennifer's asking, I understand I shouldn't think of my audience as myself, but how deep do my demographics need to go? I know average salary, home cost, education, and hobbies, along with various other figures. Figures are from 2018. Is it enough for me to use and niche down by audience?
Can you give me an abbreviated version of that again? It wasn't quite clear.
Yeah, so she's basically trying to niche down her audience. Like she's trying to define who they are. And she's asking if it's enough to use figures like from 2018, like average salary, home cost, education, and hobbies, along with various other things.
Well, no, if you're using that kind of information, then I would you want to make it. It's going to be far more valuable if people feel it's timely and now. Hey, particularly relating to job stuff, like everything changes. A lot of stuff has changed from 2018 to today.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we have kept you. There are still a few more questions. Some of them are technical, and they're things that you guys can go over on the Facebook page that I think would probably benefit everyone to have these technical questions answered there. Okay. So if your question is one of those, definitely do that.
All right. Okie dokie. And so, yeah, get busy and go through, keep going through the course materials, and we will talk again next week.